Welcome everybody to the Exton Interviews podcast. Today, Exton will be a little bit late, so it's going to be just me, John, and everyone in the chat. But yes, we have Kabam John as a guest. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kabam John, game designer and many other things at Kabam these days. How's it going?
Good, man. We're super happy to have you on. Can you tell us kind of what you do at Kabam?
Yeah, I've been at Kabam for quite some time, coming up on 5 years. So I've come through many things. When I first started, I worked on the live ops team, so I worked in on all of our offers and that kind of stuff. On the QA side, checking all the crystals, and then I moved on to the character team, and I was doing QA on the character team. So testing all the characters, making sure they're all working, that kind of stuff. But yeah, while I was doing that, I just kind of became a bit of a loudmouth about what was good in the game, what characters were good, and yeah, the company kind of saw value in that and gave me the opportunity to become what was the title of balance designer, where I would just work with all the people on the character team and the quest team and stuff to try and make sure that the characters we're releasing are like good and nobody's too OP or too underpowered, and the quest stuff that we're making is good and everything like that. And I did that for around 2 years, and I still do that to some extent, but now it's kind of expanding out to more and more things where I've got actually Nick, who everybody knows, and one other person, and we're actually hiring for one more to come work with me as balance designers. So yeah, it's I do a lot of things now. I guess, yeah, I used to only do character stuff, but these days I actually don't do too much character stuff. That's mostly Nick. And I actually own Alliance War now, as well as I create all of the different metas and stuff for Battlegrounds. So everything coming up in Battlegrounds that you guys are going to see next month was largely designed by me in terms of like what the nodes are and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Like it's cool because you started with live ops, and now you do so much with the balancing, and especially with Battlegrounds. That's so cool right now. Like it's like the hot new thing.
Yeah, no, I do a bunch of things. Yeah, even like all of the tactics that come out for Alliance War that everybody loves and hates. I create all of this on the ground up. And a lot of the map changes. I've got a couple of the people that work with me, but I have a big impact on all of our AQ changes, AW changes, all the character stuff coming up. Try to have my hand in as many things as I can.
Oh, that's awesome. I always ask this question when we have Kabam guests, but how did you get your Kabam name?
Yeah, so I got the chance to go to Comic-Con in 2019, and that's where a lot of this stuff really kicked it off for me. And yeah, I even see Pete in the chat here. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I guess the thing that kind of like got me a lot of my rapport with the community, that was teaching Seaton how to play Doc Ock. I had a really fun night hanging out with all of the content creators we had with us there at the time, and just hanging out and talking about the game. And I didn't really have a tag or anything at the time. I just introduced myself to everybody as John because my name is John. It's just like, you know what, everybody already knows me as John, so I'll just stick with it. And yeah, it's just as simple as that's just my name.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works, man. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty infamous to like I can tie anything to you, which is nice. And,
Mhm.
you also, what do you go by? What, Philly John as well?
Yeah, I mean, I go by whatever. My full name's Jonathan. Very few people in the world call me Jonathan. I think the only people that do are my mom and Kabam Mike. Um,
Really?
yeah, so I go by John, Johnny, whatever. Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Um, all right. So yeah, I guess you kind of talked about Janik coming onto the team. How has it been working with him? Someone who's a player first and then actually hired onto the team. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, no. Honestly, it's been fantastic. He's been blowing away like all the expectations we had for him. He's a phenomenal person to work with. Super quick learner. He's got a really amazing background in stuff like competitive sports, and I think it's really helped him like be so good at picking up things fast. And I'm very lucky to have him and one of the other guys that I guess is like we haven't announced to the community yet. That was an internal hire for us. That works with me as another balance designer. Both of them are fantastic to work with, and having more people, like we've got a good number of people, but having more people that are dedicated and know the game so well is like super invaluable to have. So as I do all the Alliance War stuff, I talk to him all the time about it, as well as a couple other people in the studio, and it's great to have those people that are so good at it. And a lot of the new system that we launched earlier this year with the champion update process, he runs most of it these days, and yeah, no, he's been super phenomenal addition to the team, and super happy to have him, and excited to work with him more.
Awesome. You mentioned the interrogation room when you were on the UMSOC podcast. How did Janik do at
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so he actually didn't have the chance to do it. He's been in the
What?
office a lot now, but because of COVID and work remote
Hmm.
and everything, like that all of our hiring process was done online. So for him, it was, even though he's local to the area, we didn't actually do the interviews in person. It was just all online. But he comes into the office. I see him pretty much once a week, at least in the office these days.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool.
Fortunately, we didn't get to do it in the interrogation room. It would have been fun.
Yeah, I remember like listening to that. I was like, what? Like that's so random. But
Yeah.
no.
It,
Oh, go on.
uh,
Sorry.
but no, no, as I say, it's a fun environment at the office.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I always love seeing pictures there or online, and it's pretty cool. And Kabam's always hiring, right? So if anyone's
Yep.
ever interested in looking at it,
Oh
definitely
yeah,
send
by
an
all means.
application.
Yeah, do it. Like I said, even you go look at the website right now. We're hiring for another balance designer. So if you're good at the game and you think you can do it, by all means, throw that application in.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be so cool.
Hmm.
All right. Now you said so. Yeah, obviously your name is like the balance designer, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the balancing system? We had kind of an update to it with Black Cat and Scorpion not being balanced. That they've been looked at to
Hmm.
be pretty well. So can you kind of explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I think the way that it was launched, there was a lot of misconceptions with it initially, and really, if we were to look at 2021, the only characters that I would consider really up for, I guess, a nerf. I think there's a bunch of characters we could have probably considered for a buff, but the only characters I would consider for a nerf with this new process would be somebody like Hercules and Kitty,
Hmm.
where they're actually performing much more than we would have anticipated. Um, and it's not that we don't want good stuff to be out there. It's just very hard for us as a company to introduce new and exciting things when there's something that's so meta dominating. One of the examples that we used to use for ages was Corvus was so dominating in Alliance Quest, where there was no reason to use anybody but Corvus because even if he wasn't the best option, you could still brute force your way through it because you would just never die. Um, uh, and so that was a really big problem for a long time, and it made a lot of our designers be a lot more reserved. And we were kind of scared to release cool stuff because we were always afraid that um, if we released something that was too overpowered, it would just be in the game forever, and it would be a problem we would have to deal with for years. And to go back to the Corvus example, the only reason Corvus isn't in that situation anymore is Map 8 doesn't have the timeout cheese, and also Hercules is there, and he's just better Corvus. Um, and so the balance system kind of became this hybrid of we didn't really have the capacity that we used to do the old reworks, but we still wanted to try and release something um, and still give updates out monthly if we could. But we also wanted to introduce a new system where we could be a little bit more risky with releasing characters and still feel like we could, rein them in a little bit later, or if we missed the mark, we could buff them up later. And so, yeah, it kind of just became this win-win situation where, hey, we can still release updates to characters. Maybe they're not the old characters all the time, but at least it's still something new for the players to chew on, and it's finally giving us the opportunity to be able to kind of change characters that are alive, which it's very unique to contest. That's something that isn't regularly done. Obviously, there's a lot of investment in your characters, but you look at a lot of the bigger games in the world, and there's buffs and nerfs to everything every other week.
Hmm.
So it puts a lot of pressure on the internal teams, and it kind of makes us scared to do cool stuff. Um, so the process and the system that we made is largely just making sure characters are actually landing where we wanted them to be. And if they're a little bit off here or there, unless it's something really drastic, most of the time we're okay with that. We do our best to contextualize a lot of stuff too, um, and get as much data and information as we can to make educated decisions on it. Like Black Cat, for example. Black Cat, if you look at her damage, she looks really absurd in Labyrinth of Legends, but the whole reason she looks absurd is because everyone goes and fights Red Hulk and beats the crap out of Red Hulk, but then they don't go any farther than Red Hulk. So that's not actually that much of a concern when,
Yeah.
the character is like performing so well in a fight that they're supposed to be really good in. But it's mostly just people going and beating up a big dummy, right? Um, so that's why with like Black Cat, we were pretty okay with it, and we didn't think that it was too big of a problem with her, for example, where even though she had some really powerful damage numbers and had a lot like some pretty good um, areas where she was very powerful, it wasn't like across the board kind of thing. Whereas like the problem with somebody like Hercules is um, even going into something like Tier 1 War, Hercules can take out like almost the entire mini boss island. And having one character being able to do all that actually devalues all the other characters. Like, why would I need a new Cosmic character, or why would I even be interested in a new character if I have a character that already does everything for me? And I think
Yeah.
that really takes away from the interest in the game.
Yeah, I agree. Like I hear like everyone like definitely when Hercules first came around, he definitely was like, oh my god, and now it's like
Mhm.
it is that right? Like he does devalue other characters. Like it's same thing like you talked about Chorus, right? Like Chorus was the hot commodity back then, and almost everyone has a ranked up Chorus to this day, and I
Yep.
think it's the same way with Herc for sure.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's not that we don't want those characters to be good. Like, if we could go back and nerf Hercules, we wouldn't be like, oh, Hercules,
yeah,
we're just going to put him in the trash can. We want this character to be awful. It's like, no, we would just probably try to tone him back. Like, really, my biggest regret with him is I think his immortality is just way too good. If his immortality was half of the potency that it is right now, he would still be a phenomenal character. You just wouldn't be able to get away with murder with him all the time, right? Like, you can grew up so much with him and get away with it, no big deal. And he's supposed to be a high risk, high reward character, and he's just really not that.
yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
but yeah, that's kind of a long-winded answer to a short question, I guess. But yeah,
no, it's
the
fine.
goal with it, I guess, to button it up is we want to be able to give the designers on project more freedom to take risks while also being able to keep the game in hopefully a healthier state long term.
Yeah, no, I mean that's perfectly fine. That's what we want to see, right? Like we don't want this game to go anywhere, and we don't want super overpeak champs or super underwhelming champs. So I think the balance
Hmm.
system is absolutely a perfect thing to keep this game thriving.
Hmm. Glad to
Uh,
hear that. Thank you.
Moose kind of asks is why do they need to be in that certain places? Is it just because of that like they need to be not too underwhelmed and not too overpowered, right? So
Yeah, I think a lot of it is to promote interesting characters, right? Where um, the way that contest works is rather than having one character being able to do everything, it's such a deep and complex game where there's so many different problems you have to solve. When one character can solve, 50 problems, it's a lot more interesting, I think, if you can have, instead of one character solving 50 problems, you have five characters solve 10 problems. And now you have to build a team around it. And I think there's a lot more strategy involved to it. And there's a lot more kind of room for expression as well, where, um, rather than just using rather than just using Doom to deal with everything that a Mystic needs to do, well, Doom can deal with three or four things. And then you have to bring other people for other things. And that's a lot of at the higher level, unless you're, an MSD that can just brute force his way through every fight because he's a mechanical god. That's where a lot of players line up. Is, at least for me, contest, the one when I love it the most is when I can use the strategy to find the best counter and I just make the fight like absolutely trivial. If I can find the right counter to the defender and the node and I just totally ignore the encounter because my character is just the perfect match, that's my favorite thing to do in the game. And I think that's something that a lot of players really enjoy as well. So making sure that we can kind of flex that muscle a lot and you don't just get bored with using one character all the time.
Yeah, no,
And
I
so,
feel that 100%.
yeah, and then the flip side of it too is like you still want to use characters, right? And when a character is really underpowered, sure, maybe you can make them work here and there, but I feel like you're not making it work because they're the right answer. You're just making it work because you like the character. And to be fair, I do that all the time with Captain Marvel. I'm like, oh well, I can just sledgehammer my way through this and it'll be fine. She's invincible. She'll never die. But it's not necessarily the right answer all the time.
Yeah. And we have what 231 with summon symbiotes, so it should be a roster building game. I mean, we have so many characters. It would suck to
Yeah.
only have a handful to only be used.
Yeah, and the flip side of that too is we also just need to do the unpopular thing that a lot of people don't necessarily enjoy and release more powerful defenders. We need more penny porkers out there so that you have a reason to chase a Gallon or something like that and be interested in the new character. Because if we don't introduce those new threats, then the game gets pretty stale.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask is you didn't mention it, but when you bounce a character, is the lore? Do you try to match the lore to their powers? Is that something that is kind of talked about a bit or looked at?
Mm, it's not necessarily like the level of power is equivalent to the level of power in the comics.
Hmm.
Like we try to keep a little bit of that, where like certainly for Doom, for example, there was a certain level of like, well, he's Doctor Doom, he has to be good. But more so, we try to use the lore and the comics as kind of a rubric for what they should be doing, not how well they do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
That makes sense.
so yeah, like um, even yeah, like OG Black Panther for whatever. Like he's always been a bleed character in contest, but he's a very intelligent fighter, and his whole thing is supposed to just be like punishing the opponent and using their own powers against them, and like he's such an incredibly like intelligent individual that like I wanted to try and make that a little bit, and like maybe in contest it's a little weird, but using something like intercepts to punish the opponent and make yourself more powerful. Black Panther's very powerful, maybe not like insanely powerful, but still a very powerful character. So being able to translate that in the game, where he can use those things in the comics that are very unique to him, um, and make the character feel like them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a most balanced champ?
Is there a most balanced champ? Oh, we had one when we were going through the system. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Mr. Fantastic.
Okay.
Um, he is very powerful, but he's very uniquely powerful, and he's just there's so many situations where he's really good, and there's a lot of situations where he just doesn't do anything. And that's really what we want. Is like we don't want a character where you can roll into any situation and be like, I'll probably be fine. We want a lot of characters where like this situation's good for me, this situation's bad. And also like um his buff really let him shine a lot more the way that Mr. Fantastic should be, where like you know what, he is pretty good on his own, but more than anything, he's like fantastic at supporting his team and making his pre-fights shine more is something we really wanted to
Haha, no pun intended, right?
do. Yeah.
No, he's cool. Like Brendan and B McGee and many others have so many good videos on him. He
Mhm.
was one of those characters. Like I want to rank up because like he's exactly that. Like he feels like that. Like he feels like a part of a team and helping others, and also has some really cool interactions. So that's pretty
Mhm.
cool. I never would have thought he would be the most balanced champ. At least that's cool.
There's a lot of that I would say that fall in a similar category, but he was the one when we were going through where he was kind of just even across the board. He was, I think, like threes in every category or something along that lines, which in our metrics at least is very balanced and kind of like what we and also like the way that the system works is having threes across the board doesn't necessarily mean like that's what we want for every character. But that's kind of like he's not overpowered anywhere, not underpowered anywhere. And so um, even like looking at Ghost in the system, like sure, Ghost is like definitely a pretty overpowered character, but she's also very hard to play. And so, if she had a little bit less survivability, she'd probably actually be in a pretty good spot. Yeah.
Come. Um. Oh yeah, we have a lot of comments, man. Everyone's tuning in. I love it. I appreciate all you guys. Um, Dave says, "Hi, Kabam John. I want to give a shout out to the Kabam developer designed Scorpion and Guardian, two of my most favorite champs. Hell
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bar's awesome.
Yeah, there's lots of good characters. We got a lot of really talented designers on our project. Yeah, the guy that made Scorpion is. I always like to say that he's got sleeper hits. He's the guy that made. He made Sam Wilson. He made Overseer. He's made a lot of those characters that people don't see. Or it's Spider-Man 2099 as well. People don't see the immediate value, but then after a month or two, they're like, "Wow, this character is actually really good." Um, and so he always makes all the sleeper hits. I don't know how he keeps doing it, but he does.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
That is Lex, right?
Yeah, that is Flux. Yeah,
Okay.
and I saw people mentioning it earlier, the Agent Venom synergies. It's funny that people bring that up because we actually just had a meeting on Wednesday saying like, guys, maybe we need to chill out on synergies a little bit. Agent Venom is now like a very viable T1 war attacker. I don't know if we need to be doing this all the time now. And, the Scarlet Witch synergy was something as well where it's like, yeah, this is probably going a little bit further than we were anticipating. So we gotta be a little bit more tame. We still want to do cool stuff, but we need to maybe not, blow up the game so much.
Yeah, that was pretty funny to see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
never would have thought.
pretty insane.
But no, that's awesome. Agent Venom was someone like he was in the Summoner's Choice vote. I know he didn't win, obviously, but he was someone that
Hmm.
I was excited to see if he would have won to see his potential, but to see him now get a synergy, and see him like you said compete in war is kind of insane for a 2016 champ, who didn't
Yep.
really get a buff only through a synergy. Like that's really awesome.
It's interesting, but one of the things that I guess is kind of the challenge for us when we see something like that is so for the Agent Venom example, we had talked about with the Black Hat and Scorpion stuff that we're doing a rocket rework, and the guy that's doing the rocket rework is really passionate about reworking all of the different Guardians, and that would include Agent Venom. But when
Hmm.
we do the reworks, we always want to make sure that the character's original identity is in their kit. So like Black Panther being all about bleed. Um, that's always a great example we go back to where it's just like, yeah, it's like he needs to be all about bleed. And so when we go to rework somebody like Agent Venom now, well, he doesn't really have that original identity anymore because people don't use him for it. People use him for this new synergy identity, and it makes it kind of tricky where do we make that character around the synergies now, or do we make the character around the original intent? Because they're not the same anymore. Um, so it makes it a little bit trickier for us, but we do like to see people kind of bringing these old characters out of the woodwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've seen synergies as well get transitioned into their actual kits once they do get a buff.
Yep.
Can you kind of talk about how that works? You just mentioned like, do we build around the build around a synergy or build around what they used to have?
Yeah. So the synergy into base kits, I know is a big meme. Thanks, Seaton. Um, yeah. So I mean, to be totally frank about that, is we had to tone down how many reworks we were doing because we just didn't have enough people working on it. Um, it was me and one other person, and we were doing 4 reworks a month for a while.
Yeah.
And those reworks don't take that much less time than what a regular character would be doing. And we were doing 4 a month, whereas the average person will do one every other month or every third month. So it was a lot. We definitely signed ourselves up for way too much. And so a lot of the time, what it would be is just us trying to keep up with the schedule where a lot of the time a character will feel a lot better with a full synergy team. Cool. Well, we can put those synergies into their base kit and then try to add more flavor into the new synergies. And that's kind of how we identified being able to do that and keep on top of it. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, with just the sheer number we were putting out, there's a lot of them that just weren't that interesting.
Hmm.
I see like in the chat the Nova buff. It's like the Nova buff and the Mr. Fantastic buff were almost identical in terms of the way they work. It's just how much time we can invest into the character and how much that character can actually grow from just numbers alone. And so with the new process that we have with the champion updates, we have a lot more room to invest much more time into reworks, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and I appreciate that too because like we're gonna get some awesome buffs and more time on there, and we're not gonna get Ronin and Nova like you said, which is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
we'll probably still do some value onlys here or there, but we're gonna have a lot more time, and everything's gonna be built a lot earlier. So
that is great news to hear. All right, I have a funny question for you. Can we expect an AQ meme buff like Kabam Mike Cyclops, but maybe with your Groot or even Sentry? You know, something just fun.
I think you guys are gonna get a very different experience with buffs in season 10.
Okay.
We got some really cool stuff planned that I don't want to get too much into detail for, but um, yeah, it's gonna be way way better than everything we've done before in terms of AQ choice nodes. It's always been a big pain point with those things, and everything being random all the time kind of sucks. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a lot better. I don't like the randomness of the way the old ones worked. It sucked to have one that worked really cool and helped you do your path with a different character, make your pathway easier. But you get that 1 out of 5 days. So we're changing the system entirely, and I think people will be really excited for it, and that should be out later this year.
Awesome. I hear a lot of like complaints about AQ, and so to know that you guys are working on making it better is awesome. Is always a good thing to hear.
Yeah, something we're actually going to be working on probably next week, as well as like harassing a few of the people internally, is we got a lot more people working on the game modes now.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
dedicated to Alliance War along with one other person. We have somebody that's dedicated to incursions. We have somebody that's dedicated to Battlegrounds. Somebody that's dedicated to Alliance Quest, and we even have somebody dedicated now to just alliances.
Hmm.
And we've bolstered that team a lot. And so I think people are going to be really excited for the things that are coming out over the rest of the year as well as into early next year. We got way more support and dev time being synced into all of the stuff that has to do with anything multiplayer. So Battlegrounds, Alliance War, Alliance Quest, and Incursions. There's going to be a lot of really cool stuff. I'm really excited for what the next like 6 months to a year of the contest looks like. And I think, yeah, people are going to really like a lot of the stuff that's coming out.
Well, you heard it here. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I love that because I mean that could be so many possibilities, and people saying the game's dying is like so untrue because look how much the game's improving all the time, and I love to hear that.
Yeah, I'm doing my best not to leak everything right now
Yeah.
because we got a lot of really cool stuff that I've been asking us for do quite some time. So I think it'll be. I'm gonna see how early I can get this stuff announced, but I think it's gonna come out sooner than people. Yeah, within the next couple of months, we're gonna have some really cool stuff.
Okay, perfect, man. I'm sure Mike is listening somewhere. He's like, I gotta make sure John doesn't leak anything. Okay, so speaking of Battlegrounds, is there a release date? Just what Snake asked.
uh, yeah, I think Battlegrounds should be out next month.
Okay, you did
Um,
mention that earlier, so I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, Battlegrounds. I mean, I can go into it a little bit more too. It's coming out really soon. You guys are gonna be pretty aware of it all very soon. Battlegrounds is gonna come out, and we'll have weekly rotating metas for it at the highest level. So that game mode is gonna have a lot of really cool stuff. It's so much brand new stuff that people have been asking, or I guess all the people that have been building Alliance for the past 5 years are the people that are building Battlegrounds, and we've been able to take all of the lessons we learned from that game mode and channel it into a much more polished and clean game mode, and I think that's really going to show. And yeah, I think it's all kicking off next month. If you hate the metas, by all means, at me on Twitter. I probably won't see it. But yeah, it's. I think I'm hoping that the metas are really fun and they let players flex their RPG muscles, and they get to see a bunch of nodes that are a little bit of a blast from the past.
Oh, okay, that'll be really interesting to see. Weekly metas and yeah, that's super interesting. Like I need to dive into Battlegrounds. Like I've been so busy with stuff, and to when the official release comes out, I want to totally dive into it and dive into competitive. And whenever the friendly mode comes out, I'd be super excited for that.
I don't think the friendly mode will be far behind. I don't remember exactly when it's coming out, so that's the only reason I'm not saying more. But
Yeah.
when Battlegrounds comes out, there'll be a big post for it and everything like that. And so I'm sure you guys will know sooner rather than later.
And Dave actually he asked, is there like going to be some way for looking at modders and cheaters? I know that's like a big thing with Battlegrounds.
Mhm. Yeah, we're working on it the best we can. It's very difficult for us to look at that stuff. Um, Battlegrounds being its own new thing brings a totally new set of issues and problems for us to have to chew through. So, um, yeah, it's a totally new, I guess, beast for us to deal with. But yeah, we're going to be doing our best to get on top of that stuff because, yeah, we don't like it any more than you guys do.
Yeah, I know live ops is always getting rid of the cheaters, get them out of here.
Yeah, it's yeah, YOLO's always going in there with the ban hammer.
Yeah. um. Okay. All right. All right. I wanted to ask this question earlier about buffs, but Sentry and Black Panther Civil War, I think were kind of discussed, like getting buff. Like Sentry was in that synergy, Battlegrounds changing, so are we. And he kind of got removed from it and got replaced with Emily Ma. And I was wondering if these two are kind of still looked at to get buffed, even though that was so long ago.
Yeah, so originally we were going to try and do a value only or a moderate update for Sentry, but every time we tried to look at him, he just needed more. And he's a really weird character where I guess he's a lot more of a skill character than he is a science character, even though he should be more of a science
Yeah.
character. Um, and so he's very difficult to rework, and we ended up putting him on the back burner just because we couldn't find something that we really liked. And every time we tried to rework him, we just had to keep going into the drawing board. So he's certainly one that like I really want to rework because I enjoy him a lot. I think he's a really fun character, but he just doesn't have enough going on for him. So he'll certainly be built out as a better character. But if we do anything with him, it'll be a full rework. And so that's kind of why he hasn't been updated yet. He was on the plan. He was in that synergy because he was on the calendar and we were building the rework for him. We just couldn't find something we liked. So we did other characters instead. Black Panther Civil War is in the process already, and we'll be getting
Cool.
a rework. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's got a really talented designer reworking him, one of our newer guys, but he is a very high level AVA player and really knows the game top to bottom. So I think his rework's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we also Chadwick Boseman passing away, and we really have he have his character that he played on screen in game, and he was talked about
Mm.
getting a buff back then, and now it's finally happening. So that's so awesome to hear. I'm very excited, and especially for Wakanda Forever. It's gonna be
Mm.
really awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to come out, but it's certainly in the process and when we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, sometime next year, I'm assuming, because we already
Yeah.
know the two this year. Okay, so we do have we already know that obviously Ant-Man and Rocket are gonna get buffed. You already talked a little bit about
Mhm.
Rocket and even the Guardians that Rocket's part of, as well as Agent Venom. So that's
Mhm.
awesome. Is there anything you can kind of talk about Ant-Man that's coming out quite soon?
Yeah. I think he's actually going to be an easier defender than he is right now.
Oh, cool.
If you want, I can just walk you through his whole kit. I made the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. His glancing is now an unsteady debuff he'll put on the opponent. So if you can shrug debuffs off or make them fail, then you don't have to deal with his glancing anymore. And he's very similar to the old one, where it's all about stacking a bunch of debuffs and converting them into poisons. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's a lot more built around it. Way more damage for all of his poisons. He has a new mechanic that's Pim Particles, which is like his own personal resource that he can build up. He can spend his Pim Particles to put power stings on the opponent, as well as refresh and pause his debuffs. So as soon as you get all of your poisons on the opponent, you can just keep them running forever. Um, I know that you guys know that Karate Mike does all of the a lot of the deep dive stuff these days, and so I got him to play around with him, and he really likes him. He thinks he's a little scared when I was showing him off to him because like, dude, this guy just does so much poison damage. It's crazy. Yeah, he's very much still the same character through and through, but he's got a lot more of a fresh face. He's got Power Sting and Petrify in his kit now. He's got way more access to debuffs. And yeah, I think he'll be a really interesting addition to. He's not going to be blowing anything up, but if you need a guy to dump a bunch of debuffs and poisons on the opponent, he'll be great for it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I don't believe it was said any new animations on the forum post, but is there any new animations for him?
Nope, no new animations for him. And yeah, I see the ask about the Cap Sam synergy. Yeah, so that synergy, I'm removing half of it. Is the best way I can describe it. He won't be pausing stuff anymore, but he will still double all the fatigues that he's putting on. Well, I guess yeah, he'll put 8 fatigues on the opponent for every special one, and he can put a max of 12 poisons. So you'll throw 2 special ones and a special 2, and you've got big damage.
Awesome, man. I'm excited. I did not expect you just to say that, so that's cool.
It's whatever. It comes out next month.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you said he's gonna be less annoying on defense. So oh my gosh, like that was like the main, like everyone's main concern was he gonna be a more annoying defender, and so that is a relief.
Yeah, it's similar to what we did with Juggernaut. We've decided that he could be a little annoying here and there, but we would rather just make it more fun for people to play.
Yeah, and that's absolutely awesome. And he got second place in the buff vote. So hey, everyone Ant-Man who voted Ant-Man, this is it.
Yeah, I'm hoping you'd be pretty good. I spent probably too much time on him.
I got what to say. I was gonna say, Ant-Man, like we have Quantum Mania coming out next year, so hopefully maybe as a coming soon synergy with one of the characters, hopefully. Yeah, no comment.
Yeah, no comment on anything there. I plead the fifth.
Yeah, no worries. MC says I really like the process of making old defenders easier on defense and cool on offense. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see. We might end up going the other way here and there as well because we do want to make sure that there is still some nasty defenders out there. Like as much as Bishop is awful to deal with, it is nice to have more mutant defenders that you have to deal with. If Bishop wasn't such a big problem, maybe you wouldn't need Nimrod as much and people wouldn't be using him as often. So we'll probably sprinkle some more of those over the next bit. But I think Rocket is definitely going to be a very powerful attacker as well.
It sounded like it, like the way from the preview of like building all his stuff and shields. It was really cool. I like the Ant-Man is going back to what he was. He sucked when Suicides came out, and they changed him, but he'd be amazing now if he had not been changed.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be like amazingly suicide friendly. He doesn't really have any proper interactions with him, and he doesn't have any debuffs for himself. The unsteady debuff he puts on the opponent is how he gets his glancing now, but he will be significantly better than the original version.
Awesome. All right, let's see here. All right, so you kind of touched a little bit on it, but when selecting champs for a buff redesign, why is there a longer wait for older champs? Maybe you can talk about Storm since she's like literally a day one champ.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is just what we have good ideas for at the time. It's not necessarily a like super rigorous process of just like, oh well, X and Y have come together. That means we need to rework this. A lot of it is just, at least in the past, since it was just kind of the two of us making characters. It was whatever we had a good idea for at the time, or yeah, it's pretty much what it came down to. I think you're gonna see a lot more of a difference going forward because what we've done with it is we've opened it up to everybody within the team. So even people like Dave is working on a rework, for example. Um, Anybody can work on it if they want. And so I think we're going to see a lot more variety in what's coming out now. And yet it was just in the past whatever we thought we had a good idea for.
Okay, yeah, that'll be really interesting. I, yeah, I don't know. My mind is kind of like boggling. Like, better come with a cool song.
I'm sure he'll do something.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so I had this question about kind of what kind of comes to testing with Galen's Herald ability. It seems like it was kind of mentioned a bit, and I'm kind of curious, like, how does that go into you're testing this thing that affects the whole class?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one because Galen was one of the first characters I wasn't super involved in. I came in every
Okay.
so often, but Jordan or J-Nick did a lot of that stuff. But that being said, I did come into near the end of the process and look at Galen's ability, and it's like, this is broken. This is bonkers because it used to be way more powerful, um, and it's already still pretty good. Um, but really, the challenges we had to face with that is um, we didn't want the pre-fight to um, we didn't want the pre-fight to replace every cosmic character in the future, and it should be more than anything just giving you an option to deal with part of the problem that somebody like Penny brings to the table. Um, it shouldn't be a situation where you just don't care about a new cosmic character coming out in the future because you can just use Galen pre-fight. Um, and so with those pre-fights that affect like a whole class, that's really where we look at it from, where like how can we give utility to this class without um, removing value from any character coming out in the future. So there's a lot of testing around that kind of stuff. And I guess the one of the main areas we always look at is AW as well, where there needs to be a cost attached to it if it's going to be something that powerful. And so the fact that you need to use Galen to get the pre-fight really lets us be a little bit more free with it. And the fact that it ramps up over the quest means it's not going to be suddenly the most OP thing in AW, but you can use it in like story content in AQ.
Cool. Um, okay. So what was I going to say? Okay. All right. So you were on the Summer Showdown. You casted it. How was kind of that experience? And is that something we could see returning? Obviously, it didn't return this year, but can we see it returning next year?
Yeah, I would love to do more of it. I love the showdown. It's a lot of fun. I've always been huge into esports. Esports is like one of my biggest passions and something that I love and still keep up with. I was
Hell yeah.
all this week watching the LCS playoffs and I mean not esports, but recently I've been getting really into Formula One thanks to the Netflix show. And grew up playing Smash Brothers all of my life, going to tournaments all the time. I love esports, and so being able to channel a little bit of that into contest, which is something else that I love very dearly, um, has been so much fun. Oh my God, Storm, man, get out of here! I hate that character. um, Storm's a cool character, but I hate him in Smash. The Ultimate's got so many cheeseball characters. Don't even start, man. Um, anyways, yeah, it's something that I would love to do again. I don't know if or when we are going to do it again. If it would be the same format, if it would just be something we do in Battlegrounds. There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot. Unfortunately, it's not something I have total control over either. Because if I did, I would love to do it again. I think it's super awesome. It's a great thing for the community, and same with stuff like Comic Con. I think it's super fun and it's great for the community to get together on that kind of stuff. But um, it's just gotta be right place, right time kind of thing. Like that stuff's not cheap to do, and so we got to make sure that we see the value in it and it's worth you know worth it for us as a company to be doing it. And I think this year, just the way that everything's been, I don't think it's the right year for us to do it. But that doesn't mean we aren't going to do it again in the future. I don't know if we are necessarily guaranteed to, but I also wouldn't say that we're never going to do it again.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I love it. I come from the Call of Duty esports scene, so I
Nice.
love the whole thing, and especially the trophy. The trophy is like my cool the ISO spear. I mean, like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that I freaked out when I saw it. And also we have MST here who has one. Big flex.
Yeah, that's the real reason we didn't do it this year is because we just don't want MSD to clean house. Wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm excited for that. You mentioned you were Comic Con. Obviously, you guys didn't come this year, but I would love to
Mhm.
to go. I still haven't gone yet. I have so much merchandise that I bought in the aftermarket or had people ship to me that have
Yeah.
extras, and I want to go myself, but I'm just waiting. Hopefully, when you guys do it, I'm gonna get like a media pass, and we're gonna try to do an interview there. I would love to do
Yeah, if I manage to sneak my way into it again, I would be super down for that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll be at PAX next weekend as well. If people want to come around and harass me or something, I'll be around. I'm sure you can steal some of my time. But obviously very different. Not so much a big comic book thing that one, but that's
that. Yeah.
that's where I'll be next weekend. So if you Seattle folk are around, I'm sure you can come and hound me at the convention center.
Man.
Um,
they stopped PAX South, and I'm so sad because like I don't get to go. I live in Texas, and they stopped
oh
it.
yeah.
So it's so sad. I loved it, but
Yeah, I try to go every year. This year's a little bit, I guess, lamer, where it's, first big one since COVID's kind of
mhm.
filling out a little bit. And so not a lot of the big studios that used to be there, but I really love going to the indie booths and being able to meet all these people that are so passionate about their games. So that's this thing I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
All right, okay. We have a lot of questions about characters that are coming. Do you have any say into characters that come? I'm not sure if that is with your title.
No, that is something I have like zero control
Yeah.
whatsoever on. That
That's,
is, I could try to say things that I think would be cool, but no, it's something it's largely it's decided so far ahead of time and not something that I have really any input in.
yeah, that's what I figured. It is what it is. That yeah,
Hmm.
like they're always like three because like we have the Battleground map that teases things, and like this probably be the next 2 years. Like it's still crazy to see. So
Hmm.
yeah, so if anyone have any questions about him choosing you and choosing any characters, higher up, right? Kabam Gabe.
Yeah.
That's what we need. And Gabe has always said we're adding every character from for any Marvel media to the game. So
Oh, we need them. We have so many.
yeah. All right. I
We
have
do
one
everything we can
question.
get.
I have one question
Mhm.
before we go into your kind of account. And I think MST asked, what's the least balanced champ in the game?
The least balanced champ in the game would be. Hmm, it's tough because I think there's different ones for different things. If you want to know what the most OP character in the game is, I would just say it's bar none Quake. I think, and even going through all of our internal metrics and the attribute system we created, it's Quake. Quake is just bananas broken. Obviously, Ghost is very powerful, and I think I would say Ghost is probably number two. And the reason that I think those two are the most kind of overpowered and least balanced is because the way that they function is very different than the rest of the cast. Where like somebody like Doom is very, very powerful, but he's got his limits and he plays within the contest. You know, he doesn't just turn the game off. Where if I guess the way that Doom works is he's pretty powerful on his own, but if you use him in the right situation, he's very, very powerful. If you use him in the wrong situation, he's okay at best. Um, and Quake and Ghost function in a way where they are always very powerful unless there's something that expressly turns them off. And so they kind of break the game in that sense. Where, I mean, you can look at showdowns in years past where I get a little bit bitter about people using Quake for everything, but it's just, it's you know, you learn how to play Quake, and I actually think it makes you a worse player at the game because Quake is one of those characters where you can just use her for everything, where you don't have to learn the rest of the characters and how a lot of other stuff works because if you just learn how to use Quake, you'll probably be okay in 90% of the or 90% of cases. Um, so I think she's the most overpowered character. And if there's anybody I would go to nerf right now, it wouldn't be her, it'd be Quake. Maybe if we nerf her, maybe then I can release her as a 6 star.
Ah, there we go. I was about to ask that.
Yeah. If you guys want 6 star Quake, you gotta tell me that you're okay with me nerfing her. Yeah.
MSC says I'm fine with that.
As you are.
All right. All right. So, can we talk about your account? If that's all right.
Sure, yeah.
All right. So, what is your progression?
So I've been slacking for a while. I think I've been kind of too busy in like personal life and also work life that I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I would have liked to in the game. So I haven't hit Paragon yet.
Okay.
But I used to play at a high level. I used to um I don't have any rank fours. I am just chasing them now. I like would play through story content every so often, but yeah, I'm playing big catch up right now. I got a lot of content to do. Um, I've taken too big of a break, so I've fallen behind. So that's what I'm on now. I've rejoined an alliance, getting back into the game, getting back into it, where I've got that time again, so I can play it. Because to be totally frank, playing contests at any level takes a lot of time. Um, but yeah, no, I'm Thronebreaker right now. I mean, I've got like pretty good prestige. I'm like just like 13,500 or something like that. Um, I think that's where I am. I used to play in like top 20, top 30 alliances all the time. And I love doing that too. It just became when you work on the game and you play the game at that level, it kind of becomes very all encompassing. And I kind of just needed a little bit of a break. Um, but yeah, I'm coming back now.
Yeah, that's super understandable. I thought you were on the MC podcast and you're like you had so many rank threes at the time, and that was insane. Like back
Yeah.
then, so it's pretty crazy. Okay, and speaking of the MCOC, last time on there, you said APOC was the character you were hunting. Do you have an APOC, and who are you hunting now?
Yeah, I've got rank 3 APOC. I'm big chillin'. Who am I hunting right now? That's a great question. I really want 6 star Null. I think Null is my favorite character of recent times. He's just so friggin' cool, man. He's got such a big, cool sword, and he's such a badass. He's so cool. I really like Null. And then, yeah, I think Quicksilver is really cool as well. Of the recent characters, he might be the one that I'm chasing right now. Um, and I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I'm sure there's other characters I'm chasing right now, but I'm trying to just chew through everything I've got right now, and I'm just having fun with the characters I have. I've spent way too much time playing Carnage and Red Goblin these days.
Really?
Yeah, I just play them with like Odin and have a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. We have a lot of Carnage fans in here, and Roblin, of course,
Yeah.
MSD. John knows. All right. All right. So, do you do any arena?
I'm so lazy with Arena, man.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, it's yeah. I used to do a lot of Arena, but I don't too much anymore. I mean, I haven't been playing the game enough to really garner arena, and I'd much rather buy like the like monthly like collector's pack of units and that kind of stuff and kind of save that time. I do when I'm really playing the game a lot, I'll go and like hang out in Brian's stream and play arena and that kind of stuff, but not so much in recent times.
Oh, good. All right, Exon's here. So, what's up, Exon?
Yeah,
Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm late.
It's
no
okay.
worries.
You've only missed most of the interview.
Yeah, I'm spending time with my family, so yeah,
Hey,
you know.
respect, man.
Yeah, no, we love that. You're at the fair
Heck
having
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Have put them on some rides. It was fun. Um, but yeah, do you do any? Have you been doing any battlegrounds?
Yeah. Well, we actually, when we first released the Battlegrounds beta, there's actually, we accidentally leaked the internal leaderboard, and I was on that. So I play a lot of Battlegrounds. Not as, I haven't been playing as much recently on the Blast beta and stuff like that on live, but that's largely just because I play a lot of it while I'm at work. Uh, I work on the Battlegrounds team. I spend a lot of time in that game mode. Past couple of weeks, I've been playing it almost every day, as well as incursions because you get some really cool stuff coming up for that game mode. Um, but yeah, I play a lot of it internally. So that means with like other people at Kabam on our dev servers, and we have like a little bit of an internal leaderboard that we kind of all shoot the shit with on. Everybody's trying to just take down Zen and J-Nick because they play more than everybody else. But yeah, I play a lot of the game mode, just not on the like live server with everybody else right now.
Okay. Do you have any like go-to champions, attackers or defenders?
Yeah, my normally my go-to is I will always ban Spider-Ham and Penny if they're on the board. I don't care, get them out of here. And then I like to use Overseer. Overseer is really great in that game mode. Sasquatch is always another go-to. Pretty willing to just go through and use him as an attacker. And then other than that, uh, it's like I don't stray too far out of the meta. I pull in my Nick Furies and my Apox. I am really looking forward to that next month of metas we have coming up because I think people are going to be able to kind of make some pretty crazy defenders. So I'm hoping to see some cool stuff and learn some stuff in the community that I hadn't thought of.
Dude, yeah. And Exon, since you missed it, he kind of said there's gonna be weekly metas when Battlegrounds is officially released. So pretty exciting.
Very nice. I'll be looking forward to that.
All right, we have a couple of questions. So let me get in free chat. Are there any plans for a CC program collab like we had Dragon, we had Brian and Royal?
I mean, there's no immediate plans for it right now, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. We certainly could do another one. Yeah, I think we, yeah, it's something we can do. There's no reason we can't do it. I think it's just that kind of stuff takes extra time. And yeah,
Yeah,
um,
that's awesome. I'm glad they're not stopped. I wasn't sure because I know. I mean, especially this year has been more busy than really past years. So I was
mhm.
hoping it will come back eventually. So, any chance on another community boss rush? MSD says.
Yeah, I actually have no idea.
Fair enough.
It's possible. Um, I haven't heard anything about it, but also at the same time, that's not my really area of the game, I guess. So it could be coming down the pipeline for all I know, and I just don't know about it.
Yeah, this is part of the questions where you get asked all the like, oh, are 7 stars coming, or like this. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Um.
I mean it's possible. I don't know. Solo incursion sounds pretty interesting. I will tell you this about solo incursions. The first time I ever played incursions, the first thing I said was, "This is awesome. Let me play it on my own." So it's something I've been pushing for a long time. Maybe we'll get it one day, but who knows?
Yeah, it's all about finding time. I play with my brother and my dad, who also play the game, and
Nice.
sometimes our time doesn't really get into the same thing. So,
Hmm.
solo would be really nice. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, we do have some cool stuff coming for incursions, though. I'll say that much.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, you said like there's whole teams to. You also missed a section. Kabam have whole teams dedicated to incursions, alliance wars, and quests. Like specifically, that's pretty awesome.
Very nice. Yeah, I'll definitely be excited to see some incursion changes. Um, what other changes would you like to see come to the game, John?
Um, this is I guess I'll answer this with what I have planned for coming up. Um,
Okay.
uh, Being the guy that does Alliance War these days, I have a lot of plans for a lot more leadership and quality of life tools for officers. Alliance War is a really cool game out, and I like how strategic it is, but it kind of sucks to do. Sucks to spend 2 hours every attack phase as a tier one officer, um, going through and just dumping all your time into it, and planning defense. Once you get used to it, is not the end of the world, but for an early alliance, it's very difficult to do. And so a lot of leadership tools is what I'm looking at right now, and that's the stuff that I'm hoping by the end of the year we can get some more of that for you guys, and what I'm looking forward to, because I do think that that game was really cool, and I have a lot of ideas of what I would want to do more with it. But I think that the first thing we got to do is we got to make it more enjoyable for you guys. And again, this is me. I'm the Alliance War guy. The whole reason the last season got delayed and everything like that. That's all on me. That's I made mistakes. Stuff happens. It is what it is. But that's the other thing is making the game a lot cleaner, and not having bugs in it, making sure that it's working off the get go. That's what the rest of the year is going to be for me.
Yeah, that's what we want, man. We want this game to be fun, new, and improved. And if you're taking the time to do that, we absolutely have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm. Fine. Um, Just fine. I gotta dip in like 10 minutes.
Okay,
If that's cool with you guys.
yeah, no, we only have like
Yeah.
a few questions left, so we're
Okay.
chilling.
Yeah, the next question on the list here is, can you reveal anything coming to the game soon? Um, and what hair conditioner do you use?
um, I think I use Tresemme, something like that. It's like a coconut one. I don't
Okay.
know. My hair. Let me tell you, if there's one thing I'm confident in, I got pretty good hair. I didn't really show it off too much during the showdown days, but I got some pretty good locks. Uh, uh,
Oh yeah.
it's in terms of something that I'm willing to reveal. Um, yeah, sure. I mean, I will just. It's true. No, I got a hat on, so you can't see my luscious locks these days. That's the thing. I hide it under the hat too much. Um, yeah, being the AW guy, I will give you some AW stuff to chew on. So I talked about officer tools. Some of the other stuff that I've been looking at is actually here. I'll use this in season 40. No, in season 38, we will change the final boss node.
The final boss node. Is that what you said?
Yeah, the final boss node. It's been the same
Okay.
for 5+ years. We will change the final boss node for the first time in forever, and it will change every 3 seasons for the rest of time. At least that's the plan.
Okay,
That's cool.
yeah.
Um, Very nice. Yeah. Is there any hints on what the nodes will be, or it just
Sure.
changes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the full breakdown of the way it works, man. Yeah.
We love you.
So yeah, season 38 is the next time the tactics in the expert map will roll over, and so the new tactic will be what decides what the boss node is. So the tactic in season 38 is going to be all revolved around, honestly, pretty much what the new Ant-Man's kit is, which is glancing and debuffs. And so the new boss node will reflect that. And I think from everything that we've seen internally, from what Jordan and everybody's seen, you guys are going to be fighting a lot of null on the boss node.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
But I'm as aggressive as we are being with these new defense tactics, and as scary as they may be, the attack tactics are also going to be better than ever. You will have an awful time using Rintra for that null. It will not work.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's I mean it might if you want to deal with some stuff. But the other thing I will say is the new attack tactic will let you be a better purifier than anybody else in the game right now. You can just be straight up debuff immune. So yeah, the attack
Okay.
tactics are going to be really aggressive. The defense tactics will be more aggressive, and we'll have new boss nodes.
MSC changed it to Strife.
I don't think I put Strife in the attack pool, so good luck.
That's pretty
I
funny.
can see King Glance, yeah.
No, that's awesome, dude. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. Go ahead, Jay. You got anything else over there?
Yeah, Jason Jabari says real quick, are we planning on doing rewards and battlegrounds based off top 100, top percents, and etc.?
We'll get into that right now.
Okay.
But I think that the rewards and ranked system for Battlegrounds is the most interesting one we have in the contest. And it's
Ooh.
totally different than anything else we've done.
Oh, dude, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very nice.
That is
Awesome.
that's all our questions. So,
Awesome.
I don't know if anyone wants to say something to end anything, or if you guys have anything, and then we'll end off real quick.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me on. Oh, it's my favorite ice cream. I'll answer the ice cream favorite. This one's a tough one. It changes weekly, sometimes monthly. It generally goes between maple walnut, chestnut praline, and chocolate or mint chocolate chip.
Very,
Okay.
very nice.
Very nice. Yeah. All right. I want to thank Jay Axe for hosting the show while I was gone and streaming us live on YouTube and Twitch and hitting that record button for us.
You're welcome,
And
dude.
I want to thank John for taking time out of his day for coming and chatting with us. And hopefully you all got some great information out of it.
Yeah, absolutely love to. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. If that's the end of the show, we'll go ahead and end it. Have a good